I know you're just signed off there, but uh, you and I have a similar call here. We're both doing communications. We're both doing some podcasts. So let me reverse it, if you don't mind, and ask you a few questions about Hope Springs Eternal.
Okay, I didn't expect this. So, all right.
Let's do it. So, how's it been going? Tell me what brought you into doing this, and what keeps you doing it.
I felt a calling from God, and it was basically, I call it a midnight call. I went to bed late at night, and I just was done. I was frustrated, not only with the disaffiliation stuff, but just other things that were going on. And I was kind of questioning a little bit about just what God wanted me to continue to do. And I got a, and I woke up in the middle of the night with this idea, and I thought, well, okay, I'll just give it a shot. And so at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sending out messages to Kay Catan, Matt Raw, Adam Hamilton, Mike Slaughter, and Rachel Billups. And I'm thinking, these people are going to think I'm crazy. But I said, and asked them, and I said, "Look, I've never done this before, but I feel God's called me to do this because I want to see some positivity and some good, and talk about some of the good things that are taking place." And I invited them to do it, and they all agreed. And I've interviewed 4 out of the 5. Adam Hamilton's actually at the end of August, but it started from that 5 and just kind of blew up from there. And I'm at 26 interviews at this point. Um,
Wow.
and I've hit, I think it's about 7 or 8 conferences. And it's all been recommendations and prayer. These Most of these people I reached out to because I either knew them and felt led to reach out to them, or somebody else recommended them. Like Rachel Billups recommended Bishop Tom Berlin, so I sent Bishop Berlin a message, and he wrote me a message and said, "You had me at Rachel Billups said." And so and stuff like that. But what's wonderful about that is it just shows how much the United Methodist Church, the connection. And so that's kind of how it started, and it's been amazing just to experience it. And for me, it's been very hopeful and encouraging, and just to hear some of the stuff that's taking place in other areas. The videos you don't see, the conversations you don't see. I get to have lots of conversations with these individuals before and after, and you sit there and you're thinking, wow, there's just so much good stuff taking place. And it's what God really wants us to focus on, and the hope and the joy. And so that's how it started. That's what kind of is taking place right now.
So, what would you say has been the biggest surprise when you have done some of these interviews? Or obviously, yeah, one of the surprises was the folks that you sent jumped right on and said, "Yeah, let's do this." But what's been some of the bigger surprises?
Well, I think just hearing individual call stories, some of the people I've known or interacted with, but I've never heard their call story. Charles Maynard, I had no idea about his story, and his was really unique. But just hearing some of those call the stories of how people were called, and yet they all really have been saying the same thing. That's been the other surprise. They say it differently, but everybody's wanting to get back focused on the mission and to get more back to centered on serving God. And I think that's what's been neat, because I wasn't sure what would come out with all these interviews, but just hearing everybody saying basically, same thing, just shows how really unified we are as United Methodists.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, where do you think Hope Springs Eternal goes? What is your ultimate goal for it?
Really listening to God on that right now, and just trusting God's wisdom. Somebody asked me the other day, well, when does it end? And I said, well, it ends when the work is done. And God has not kind of indicated to me that the work is done yet. I may take a couple of months off to kind of do some bulk interviews and start back up again. But I'm just waiting to see what where God's direction is. I continue to have people saying yes and being a part, wanting to be a part of the conversation, and really until people say, or no, I'm just going to continue on and just be faithful to what God called me to do. We all often sit there and think, well, well, God called us, but I'm just not sure about that. But I've just really just jumped on it and just really been determined to say until God tells me, all right, we're done. I'm not going to stop and just to continue on. There's more voices out there, and there's more. I know, we talked about some of the people I talked to who have written books and in our large churches. But I've also, there's also more people out there to talk to, and like laity, and this is something that I'm really working to get, get some recordings for. I'm actually in the process of setting some of those up because there's more voices that represent the United Methodist Church, and so until the work is done, I'm just, we're just going to continue on having the conversation.
That's fantastic. Isn't it awesome that when you're living into God's call in on your life and living into your passions, just how much fun ministry can be? It-
Mhm. It's freeing, and
yeah.
it's energizing and liberating in a way, because you just know you're following what God's leading you to do, and you're just centered in what God's called to do. And I don't get paid to do this. I just do it because God, called me to do it, and I'm just having fun with it. And just I told somebody when I first started, I was like, I don't think anybody's watching these, and they said, really? I was like, yeah, I don't know who they are. And we had that called conference, and a couple of people I had no idea who they were came up to me and said, "Thank you for your videos," and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were watching. But it's just so neat to be able to hear that, hear how the messages that are blessing people. And I think it's a God thing. I think when you live in God's, God blesses you and opens the doors that need to happen. And my intention for this was just to really encourage positivity and hope. Because I mean, when we think about John Wesley's "Do no harm, do good." Um, Love the Lord your God. It's part of our calling as pastors to do good and to continue to live out and live into that. That's kind of how I feel like I'm doing it. But it's just been really neat and exciting, and I'm so glad that people are encouraged and feeling blessed by the videos. And I didn't know until recently. I knew some people were watching Hawaii, and I thought, really? That's pretty amazing. And here and it's got me to connect with people, who I never would talk to. And like I've heard from some laity in Hawaii who were telling me how much this really blessed them. And I said, well, get me in contact with your pastor. I'd like to talk to them. So it's amazing to live in God's call and just to, feel, just it gets you energized and excited, and God teaches you things through all of it. And like when Annette Spence did an interview with me about this and what I've learned, I mean, I've learned a lot just from doing this.
Mhm.
I did it because I felt God called me, but through it, when I say that it's blessed me, it really has blessed me because it's changed me, changed my view of ministries at some aspects, and also just kind of really opened my eyes to. We talk about how much we love the connection, but to really, I've got an opportunity to experience what the connection really, is, and
Yeah.
just it's just been so yes, yeah, that was my big rant about how much I love it.
Well, this has been such a pleasure. So thank you for the invitation. And there was quite a bit of anxiety coming into it when you think of all the heavy hitters that you have on, and then you've got little peon Tim coming on. So it's been so much fun to be a part of this, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Well, I had somebody who said something similar to what you did about how you got all the big heavy hitters or the big dogs and little old me. And I said, everybody's got a voice. And I would rather, I want to hear from, I would rather hear from the person who's got the smallest church to the largest church because everybody's, we're all part of this and we're all serving the same God. But I'm glad you joined in on it. And, I appreciate your, participation. And thank you for the turnaround interview. That was fun.
Good deal. Thanks a lot.